Today is the promised Florida State linebackers video that I was going to give you. So I'm going to talk about their linebacking core for the 2017 season. I'm also going to first start out with this piece of information, which I didn't know before doing the research on this video. So apparently Florida State runs a 4-2-5 defense, which uses 4 linemen, 2 linebackers, and 5 DBs. I know it, and some of you more hardcore football fans would know that TCU also runs a 4-2-5 defense, and they used it to kind of dominate the Mountain West Conference and make up for a lack of solid linebacking bodies, which to some extent Florida State does too. But I'll get into that. But the main thing is to put more DBs on the field, to counteract those spread offenses and multiple wide receiver formations, to get a better scheme, get some more of your athletic guys on the field to cover those guys. So that is really interesting. And with Florida State having a 4-2-5 defense makes sense with the amount of DBs that they have on their roster as well. So this is cool. So they'll, most of the time, Florida State have 2 linebackers on the field, and they'll rotate in a third occasionally, which in a lot of cases last year was Jacob Pugh, I believe. And then I had to check this out too on the video to see how much they stayed in the 4-2-5 defense, how often they platooned it out there. But I'll get in on that. But here's an interesting thing though. Florida State returns all of its linebackers from last season, which wasn't a lot. And that's a trend. Florida State had 5 linebackers on scholarship last year. Now, even when you only have 2 linebackers on the field on your base defense, you'll still rotate in the third one, meaning that they really only had 2 backup linebackers, which is scary depth-wise. So I'm noticing, for whatever reason, Florida State kind of has positions on their team that are really deprived of depth, like wide receiver and linebacker, which is really interesting. So it's can to not recruit either as well there or not enough there. But that's another story. So they have been struggling with depth for their linebacking core since 2013, basically, which is really interesting when they had Telvin Smith and Christian Jones. But this year, they will have like 9 to 10 linebackers on scholarship, or at least on their roster for this season. So they have a lot of bodies. All of the reps won't have to go to the starters. And I believe Florida State would be very happy about that. So first of all, let's get into who's returning here. They have Matthew Thomas, who is a redshirt senior, who started every game last year, had 77 tackles, I believe. He was often suspended or / injured in the previous years up until this point, until last year. But he finally put it all together, and he got on the field and was able to produce. So Florida State's looking for him to take the next step forward and be even better this year. They also had Roderick Hoskins, who is also a senior this year. He's had over 50 tackles in each of the last 2 seasons, so he's definitely been productive. More of a run stopper, I've heard, so he's more. They seem to be a bit of a liability in pass coverage. At least that's what they say. Florida State fans, you can either confirm or deny that. Let me know in the comments. Also, they had a true freshman who played quite a bit last year in Dontavius Jackson. He started the Wake Forest game, actually. He ended the season with about 20 tackles and half a sack and a few other things. So Dontavius Jackson actually was so talented that they couldn't keep him off the field. The other 2 freshmen that they brought in last year were Josh Brown and Emmett Rice, who they also got a little bit of playing time here and there, but they mostly contributed on special teams. So these guys will be looking to make more of an impact this year as well. So those 5 are all returning. Well, those are 4 that are returning. Oh, no, those are the 5. I went too far yet. 5. Matthew Thomas, Roderick Hoskins, Dontavius Jackson, Josh Brown, and Emmett Rice. Those 3 all were scholarship linebackers last year. And they also had Shamar Kilby-Lane, who just transferred. But last year he was academically ineligible, so he wasn't technically a part of the roster. So in some sense, they had 6 linebackers, but one of them couldn't play, so they only had 5. But he transferred out of Florida State this year, so they don't have him. But they did bring in, I didn't know this until now, but Adonis Thomas, who was at Alabama and left probably because of the depth chart situation. Probably wish he had stayed now because he probably could have made a bit of an impact here. Uh, he transferred to Florida State, and he will be with Florida State this fall. Although it makes sense for him to go to Florida State, they lacking a lot of bodies. They needed help. He can get an opportunity to play, definitely. So I don't blame him for that. But yeah, he will be with Florida State this year. And then they brought in a few freshmen. I think at least two or three more freshmen, and then another guy's coming back. I don't remember all the names right now, but they have quite a few. It is up to 9 to 10 players. So basically, if you run a 4-2-5 defense, they now have, just from a number standpoint, at least 5 rotations of linebackers to come in whenever they need them to, or to back up, or to replace for injuries, or to even build depth when the game's out of hand and you don't want to play your starters. So they have a lot of bodies now. One interesting thing that'll be though is who would be the best combination of run and pass defense. Like I said before, Hoskins, they say, Florida State fans, you can confirm or deny that he's a bit of a liability in pass coverage. I'm assuming Matthew Thomas is a bit better, and Latavius Jackson and all these other freshmen, they're talented too, and they can probably contribute to the pass defense from the linebacker position. Who is the best combination of pass and run defense? You know, do you want to put like one more run defender guy in, and a pass defender guy, and put those two together? Do you want to put two good pass defending linebackers in, or two good run stopping defensive linebackers in, or do you switch them out depending on down and distance, or do you just let Thomas and Hopkins handle the majority of it? Florida State fans, how do you think it will play out? Do you see Dontavius Jackson maybe pushing Hoskins and stepping ahead of him, maybe, uh, or at least maybe coming in and passing down situations? I don't know because I didn't see a lot of the games. I would have to go check them out. But I'm interested to see, how these true sophomores now, 3 that played last year, how will they contribute to the season, to the team, especially considering that both interior linebackers are returning this season for Florida State. And honestly, when you think about it, this is probably their best group since 2013 that had Telvin Smith and Christian Jones, at least from a depth standpoint and maybe even talent. Florida State fans, you can let me know. I know after Telvin Smith and others, they kind of lost a lot of numbers and the linebackers weren't as impactful, or maybe they were and maybe it wasn't documented as well. But let me know, what do you think about this linebacker group? What do you think is the ceiling for Thomas and Hoskins and Jackson and Brown, Rice, all these guys? How good do you think this linebacking core can be for the 2017 season? Do you think they'll make an impact? And based on what I've really just gathered in all, it's a relative. This is relative here because the Florida State defense is going to be good, but out of their defensive levels, the linebacking unit seems to be uh, the weakest, and not weak as in like they're no good, but compared to how good the defensive line seemingly will be, or how good the secondary seemingly will be, linebacker definitely doesn't have the same amount of, I guess, star power or talent power that the other two levels do, even though they're not bad, and they obviously have numbers and talented bodies based on their recruiting class. So this is really interesting. Florida State fans, what do you think about that? Some of you may think the linebacker core is the best. Who knows? But either way, I told you I'll bring the linebacker. This is probably, like I said, a cursory look like the defensive line video. But I'm looking forward to your comments, and I'll see you for the next one.